Hey, peace family, I'm Jay Morrison, and welcome back for another episode of The Solution. So let's talk about the problem our sister Brittney Griner is facing, being locked up in Russia for marijuana, cannabis, CBD, and now being sent to a penal colony. And there's a couple problems I see with that. So one is that Queen Brittney, is caught up in between a political dispute between Russia and America at the end of the day. This could have been solved, could have been litigated, could have been diplomacy if Russia and America wasn't in this tug of war. And she's a pawn in that war, that political war. But there's another thing though, another layer to this, and I want to actually send our love to her. I mean, she's going through it. Hopefully there'll be some kind of pressure. And I don't even know how that pressure could be because Russia is operating on its own island, if you will, certainly in regards to America. But those things can change and we may find some leverage somewhere. But the other problem is this, how media spends stuff. The other problem is there's been black men and women, poor men and women, all throughout America, going to prison colonies, all throughout America, doing slave labor for the last century plus for lesser crimes. Like all the way back to the 13th Amendment and the slavery loophole that, slaves were free unless you commit a crime. And then they created crimes called black codes, like vagrancy tactics, meaning like you couldn't be homeless. So they literally created a convict leasing system the same year that Africans in America went free. They literally started a new system called convict leasing. There was no policing until slave catchers, and then after in slavery, it was sheriffs and police to catch freed Africans for being homeless. So hey, you know what? You're off the plantations. You guys are free, but if you're homeless, we can lock you back up and lease you back to the plantations. It were these kind of black codes and convict leasing crimes that then led up to mass incarceration current day. And they've been using us for our free labor here in America. So we go up in arms and we act like Russia is this big bad wolf. Oh my God, how dare they lock somebody up for just marijuana, cannabis? Oh my God, for all these years and send them to a penal colony. Listen, I got caught with some cocaine that you could dissolve in orange juice, a powder that you could literally put in orange juice and it no longer exists. I got caught with cocaine and they offered me 3 years to life in prison for my first crime at 18 years old. Here in America, not Russia. In America. And then sent me to upstate New York prison, cutting down trees 6 a.m. for like 13 cents a day. Here in America, I went to a penal colony here in America. They offered me 3 years to life, my whole life in prison for 250 grams of cocaine as an 18-year-old. Barely catching the wisdom of adulthood. Barely, not even. And there's been worse situations in mine. People caught with 1 vial of crack getting multiple years. Conspiracy, I got a friend that's doing 19 years and they found no drugs. Just somebody said he was selling drugs and got 19 years, no evidence. So we want to talk about how bad Russia is for penal colonies and sending our people off and, oh my God, I can't believe it, it's so cruel. Before you judge the plank in somebody else's eye, the speck in their eye, you better take the plank out your own eye. We're quick to judge, and America's good for judging every other nation. This is a great country, Atlanta opportunity. I get it. Even as that 3-time felon who got sent to a penal colony in upstate New York and was facing 3 years life in prison, I still was able to make a way in America. I get it, not taken away from that. But it does not discredit this intentional school to prison pipeline, mass incarceration, and disparity amongst those who are incarcerated. And then after you're released from your correction, because it's not really correctional institute, so I gotta use my hand quotes. They're not correctional institutes, they're just punishment institutes, because you don't get corrected anything. You learn actually how to sell drugs or do crimes better while you're in jail. And limited programming. But then when you come home, There's over 48,000 collateral consequences or society restrictions that people with convictions face. Even if you plead guilty and don't go to jail, probation, parole, work release, PTI, any of that, you now have a record that eliminates you from 48,000 functions of everyday society. So you're paying a penalty of your time and through your crime and restitution and all that, and then a penalty for the rest of your life. It never goes away, even with expungement or pardons. A government pardon still can't keep you from 48,000 collateral consequences for having made a mistake in your life after paying your debt to society. This is America, not Russia. After you pay your debt to society, America still holds you accountable for the rest of your life of that debt. That's why I'm part of an organization called Time Done. I'm an advisor at timedone.org, where we're actually changing that legislation, those laws. That's part of the solution. It's changing a system that is as horrible in our real lives here in America as the reflection of what we see in Russia for Brittney Griner. We got that same system, y'all. Our system's no better. Khalif Browner from New York got charged for stealing a backpack, never was found guilty, served 3 years while innocent until proven guilty on Rikers Island, got traumatized on Rikers Island, came home, couldn't afford bail for conspiracy to steal a backpack. Did 3 years in prison, couldn't bail out because of cash bail systems here in America, not Russia. Ended up committing suicide because of the trauma he faced in jail in a solitary confinement for stealing a backpack that he didn't even do and wasn't found guilty of. This is not Russia, y'all. It's America. So as we point our finger at Russia for this cruel, unusual punishment, right here in America, our folks is going through the same thing. There's 65-year-old, 70-year-old grandmas that committed crimes back in the 60s and 70s, many of which they didn't even commit. It was crooked and racist cops that planted evidence on them, etc. But they still have collateral consequences at 60, 70 years old. They can't babysit legally. They can't take their kids and teach at schools because of crimes from 40, 50 years ago. Look at Emmett Till and how folks got off for him and Rodney King and on and on and on and on. This is America. So let's not be this uprighteous judge of everyone else. And we do advocate for our sister. And there should be accountability, and there should be some reconciliation, there should be some justice for Queen Brittney from Russia. While we're fighting for her and justice in Russia, don't forget we still haven't gotten adequate justice right here in America. So one thing we can do, again, solution-oriented, not just conversations, but solution-oriented, you guys can join. If you got a friend, family, or someone impacted by convictions, and they want to be a part of changing legislation like we just did in California to help 8 million California residents who have prior convictions now be eligible for expungement and a sunset of their record where it no longer exists or shows up. If you want to be a part of something like that, go to timedone.org. Timedone.org is not my organization. I just support it. I'm an advocate of it because I'm a 3-time felon and I want my record sunset. I don't want to have to still be explaining my felonies from 21 years old and I'm 42. So these are the kind of things we can do in changing legislation. And we have even deeper work to do in regards to these unjust laws, unjust sentencing, and these unjust restrictions. So again, my name is Jay Morrison. If you like this content, comment below, like it, really like it, the button, subscribe to my channel in the Solution Podcast, and share. Make sure you share with your family and friends. Let's get more information that's substantive around and that leads us to actual change and actual solutions. I'm a high-level thinker, and part of my calling is I use my gifts. What helped me survive the streets, survive poverty, survive prison, what helped me become successful in business, what helped me gain influence, what helped me have peace of mind and peace of heart, what helped me have master peace through my storms and adversity. I just want to give back my gifts and allow God to use me as a vessel for solutions for his people. That was my agreement, my covenant with the Most High, was take care of my people and I'll take care of you. So take care. The solution in real life.